Matthew Cohen cultivates medicinal marijuana on a 10-acre farm set amid rolling vineyards in Northern California. And for the past year, he's been operating legally, at least in the eyes of local law enforcement. His marijuana plants are protected by these tags.
It says Mendocino County Sheriff on it. It's upside down, though.
This program is unique in California and has allowed Cohen's nonprofit cooperative to expand around the state.
We're about 1,700 members now.
A county ordinance allows Cohen to legally grow up to 99 plants, provided he submits to inspections by sheriff's deputies and complies with state law. It's enough marijuana to keep his co-op members supplied for many months.
We were just getting ready to start harvesting. You know, we figured that we were compliant with state law and compliant with local regulations, and that's not what the federal government was interested in.
But Cohen was wrong. On October 13th, heavily armed federal agents stormed his compound.
Our dog started barking, and then I looked out the window and saw 4 or 5, federal agent vehicles. You could tell with the blacked out windows and the blacked out rims come cruising in here. Everybody hopped out of the car very quickly. I told my wife we're being raided. They said, "Open up, federal agents, we have a warrant." And I said, "I'm opening the door right now." And I opened the door to, they had the battering ram ready to go through the door. And they grabbed me, slammed me up against the wall here, cuffed me.
As the agents searched other buildings on the property, Cohen's state-of-the-art security system recorded their moves.
There's a machine gun right there.
Under the Controlled Substances Act, marijuana remains illegal in the eyes of the federal government, and drug agents are stepping up raids across the state to curtail California's pot industry.
Here you can see what they tore through all our camping stuff, and this is recycling that they went through.
Before the agents discovered most of Cohen's surveillance gear, cameras caught them searching through his business files. Meticulous record-keeping is required by county law, but there's a twist. The same documents that allow Cohen to operate legally in Mendocino can be used against him as evidence in a federal criminal prosecution. It was only after the DEA raid was underway that Sheriff Tom Allman learned that one of the farmers in his inspection program was the target.
That afternoon, after I assumed that everything had cleared, I called Matt Cohen. I asked him how he was treated, and he said he was treated fair. He said he wasn't arrested, and said that they cut down marijuana plants, 99, and I believe that's what their records show also. I assured him that, in my opinion, as far as local and state laws were concerned, he was abiding by those laws.
Days before the raid on Cohen's farm, California's 4 U.S. attorneys announced a major offensive against the state's marijuana industry.
One of the reasons we are making these announcements today is to try to put to rest the notion that large marijuana businesses can shelter themselves under state law and operate without fear of federal enforcement.
Targets also include property owners who lease land to growers and distributors. Even newspapers and magazines that carry ads for medical marijuana are under scrutiny.
The folks who say that they're out there and here I am and I dare you, they make themselves prime targets by their audacity and by the size of their operation.
Joseph Rusinella served as a U.S. attorney under 4 presidents. He says advertising is just one indication that most medical marijuana outfits in California are legitimate targets for the feds.
I think that the U.S. attorneys would probably agree that about 96 to 98% of all of the operators and all of the dispensaries, certainly, in the state were out of compliance with the state guidelines because they were commercial enterprises, because they were not limiting themselves to people who lived within their jurisdiction. As soon as you start crossing the county lines and start packaging it and sort of suggesting that your client base or your patients or your members, really, are all over the state, you're basically in a commercial enterprise for profit.
The crackdown triggered protests and a lawsuit from medical marijuana supporters. They accuse the Obama administration of backtracking on what they say were earlier promises to leave states alone when it comes to medical marijuana. In Mendocino County, officials worry that the raid on Matt Cohen's farm undercuts their effort to strictly regulate marijuana growing.
People are really wondering what is behind this, what happens next, am I personally at risk? We had an individual who was doing everything they could possibly do to be as legal as they could with local and state law, adhering strictly to the letter of the law all the way down the line. So if the federal authorities are going to raid him, then no one is safe.
County Commissioner John McCowan didn't start out as a medical marijuana advocate. In fact, he supported bans on outdoor growing. But he says the county's modest permitting program has helped bring order out of chaos.
By bringing the production of medical marijuana above ground into a strictly regulated program where it's inspected by the sheriff, arguably tremendously increases public safety and environmental protection. The raid, if it has the impact of driving people out of the program and back underground, will have the opposite effect.
Well, here's what's left. Right there. It certainly sends the message that the federal government would prefer that collectives and co-ops operate underground, unregulated. It's appalling to me that illegal farms are existing all around this county and that they're going to come after us.
Contact left! Contact left!
In fact, local law enforcement continues to target large-scale illegal pot farms, and they're using fees collected from permitted growers to help pay for raids and officer training. Justice Department officials declined to comment on Mendocino's ordinance, and while the feds have yet to directly challenge the program in court, the recent raids leave the Sheriff's Department squeezed between local and federal law.
If the Mendocino County ordinance is in violation of federal law, I want to be told that by the highest court in the land. But if it's not in violation of federal law, I want to be told that too.
Look, we have consequences. There are things that we have to do to enforce federal law, whether you're in the way of our doing it, or you're half-heartedly cooperating with us, or you're indifferent to it. The fact of the matter is, we have federal mandates. We will follow those laws.
Rusinello says federal prosecutors in 15 other states and in the District of Columbia, which also have medical marijuana laws, will be following the crackdown in California closely.